the component may result. Double-check the routing path and ensure the belt itself is the correct replacement. With the belt installed, finish tightening it to the proper tension. There are two recommended methods to check belt tension. The first method is the two-ruler method. First, lay a straight edge across the belt between the two pulleys. Place a ruler or tape measure approximately halfway between the pulleys and push in the middle of the belt with your hand. Measure the deflection or belt movement. A general rule of thumb is if the distance from the pulley center to center is 12 inches or less, there should be 1/4 inch or less of belt movement. If the pulley centers are over 12 inches apart, there should be 1/2 inch or less of belt deflection. The second method is to use an inexpensive belt tension gauge. A belt tension gauge, as shown, will ensure correct belt tension for increased belt life. If the belt is not tight enough, loosen the adjustment bolt, move the component, and retighten. With the belt tension set properly, finish tightening the attachment bolt on the component. Repeat this same procedure on the remaining belts, making sure they are correctly aligned in the pulleys. Start the engine and visually check the belts for correct operation. Place the used belts in the trunk or under a seat for use in case of a roadside emergency. Drive your vehicle for 200 to 300 miles and recheck belt tension. Adjust as needed.
Now let's review inspecting and replacing a V-belt. Visually inspect the belt for cracks, fraying, peeling, glazing, or oil contamination. Note how the belt is routed on the engine. Loosen the adjustment bolt on the component driven by the belt. Move the component to relieve tension on the belt. Remove the old belt and compare it to the new one. Loosely install the new belt, paying attention to proper routing. Adjust the belt to the correct tension and tighten the component adjustment bolt. Finally, start the engine and check for proper operation.
The items you will need to inspect and replace a serpentine belt include a 1/2 inch drive socket set, a belt tension gauge, a flashlight, a pencil and paper, and the correct replacement serpentine belt for your vehicle. A service manual such as a Haynes will assist in the removal and installation of the belt. Many of today's vehicles use one or more multi-ribbed belts, called serpentine belts, to drive all the accessories on the vehicle. Because one belt drives all the accessories on many of these vehicles, it is very important to inspect the belt periodically. We recommend inspecting it at least twice a year. We also recommend replacement every 2 years or 25,000 miles. Before inspecting your serpentine belt, first make sure the ignition key is off and always begin with a cool engine to prevent burns. Locate the belt and using your fingers and a flashlight if necessary, check the smooth side of the belt for fraying, glazing, or oil contamination. If oil is present, the cause of the leak must be corrected to ensure proper operation of the new belt. Twist the belt and inspect the underside. Check the ribs in the underside of the belt for breaks, cracks, and missing chunks of rubber. Next, inspect the pulleys for nicks, cracks, distortion or corrosion, and replace as needed. To remove a serpentine belt, the first step is to note how the belt is routed on the vehicle. The new belt must be installed properly on the pulleys to prevent belt damage. Most newer vehicles have a belt routing sticker under the hood to help during installation. If the sticker is not present, a quick hand-drawn picture can save some time and frustration when rerouting the new belt. Locate the self-tensioner pulley. This pulley provides the tension to take up the slack in the belt. Using a 1/2 inch drive ratchet and the correct socket, apply pressure until you relieve the tension from the belt. While the tension is relieved, carefully slide the belt off the self-tensioner and allow the tensioner to go back into place. Remove the belt from the remaining pulleys and remove it from the engine. Compare the new belt to the old one to ensure proper replacement. Be sure to compare for proper length, width, and number of grooves. To reinstall the new belt, follow the belt path routing sticker or your hand-drawn picture. Correctly route the belt over all of the pulleys. Be sure the grooves in the belt align with the grooves in the pulleys. With the belt in place, once again apply pressure on the self-tensioner and place the belt underneath it. Let the self-tensioner go back into place, making sure the belt is properly placed beneath it. If the belt appears to be too small, do not force it on, as damage to the self-tensioner or belt may result. Double-check the routing path and ensure the belt itself is the correct replacement. Using a belt tension gauge, check to ensure the belt is tightened to the proper specifications. A belt tension gauge, as shown, is inexpensive and will ensure correct belt tension for increased belt life. If the belt is not the proper tension, the self-tensioner may need to be adjusted or replaced. Refer to a service manual for further details. Start the engine and visually check the belt for correct operation. If any adjustments were made, drive the vehicle for 200 to 300 miles and recheck the tension. Lastly, place the used belt in the trunk or under the seat for use in case of a roadside emergency.
Now let's review inspecting and replacing a serpentine belt. Visually inspect the smooth side of the belt for fraying, glazing, or oil contamination. Inspect the ribbed side for breaks, cracks, or missing chunks. Note how the belt is routed. Loosen the belt tensioning device and remove the belt from the pulleys. Compare the old and new belts. Install the new belt in the opposite manner of removal, paying close attention to its routing. Start the engine and check for proper operation.